Hey, wait, is this thing on? Oh, it is. Hey guys, this is editor agent here, and I just wanted to inform you that we have a new goal, and the new goal is 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Yeah, I know it's a big goal from where we're at right now, but I believe in you, and you, the viewer, yeah, you. If you look down slightly, yeah, keep looking more. You see that? Yeah, that's the subscribe button. If you press it, you'll get notified about my videos and content. And every time I post, you will know about it. So yeah. And if you press the like button, you will show even more people about this spectacular content that you so love and enjoy. And also, just a random fact on the screen. There's just, new content that's going to come out when we reach 1,000 subscribers. I'm totally not spoiling anything, of course. But yeah, editor agent, I guess, is probably writing some stuff on the screen. If he is, make sure you don't pay attention to it. Yeah, don't worry about it. I am not a sellout, by the way, so yeah, don't worry about what it says on the screen. Just completely ignore that. But yeah, I've wasted your time enough. Unless you didn't do it. If you didn't do it, I'll wait. No, but like seriously, do it. Okay, so you probably did it by now. Back to your regularly scheduled program. What's up, guys? It's Agent What If, and it's back again with another video. But this is What If Deku stayed quirkless but OP. So yeah, let's just get into the video right now. This is gonna be an amazing ride. Grab your popcorn, your drink of your choice, and let's get into it. Anyway, we start off with Izuku being, born, but this time Izuku was born to a retired hero who was also an influential businessman, right? He was still born to Inko though, so his name is Midoriya still. After this, Izuku was very pushed by his father. His father loved him, but he didn't want to coddle him, so he allowed him to go to public schools because he wanted him to get the experience of real life and not be coddled. Izuku really didn't like going to public school because he was so shy and he was, very not, didn't have a very strong personality. His father wanted to change that, so he sent him to public school. When Izuku turned around 4 years old and everyone in his class got a quirk except for him, Bakugo immediately started to bully him for this. This was seen as a weakness by Bakugo, and Bakugo began to explain how to Izuku he would never amount to anything, and he was always going to be worthless because of the fact that he had no quirk. This society was run by quirks, and if you didn't have one, you were as good as dead. Izuku took this to heart and immediately began to cry. Bakugo took laughter and fun out of this, and Izuku then immediately went home that day, and he began to cry. His father found out about this and asked Izuku what was wrong. Izuku then explained that he was told by someone in his class that he was as good as dead if he didn't have a quirk. His father then says, "So you don't have a quirk, I take it?" And Izuku then says, "Well, I don't know. I just didn't get it today." And then Izuku then says, "My boy." Izuku's father then says, "My boy, you cannot take everything someone says to heart, especially when we haven't even taken you to the quirk doctor yet. Your mother is currently at work, so I'll take you to the quirk doctor myself." Izuku was then taken to the quirk doctor. Lo and behold, he actually doesn't have a quirk. Izuku then begins to cry again because now it's finally true. At least before he found out about it, it was just something someone said. It wasn't true. Izuku now begins to cry and cry. As his father takes him home, he just begins to cry more and more and more. Doesn't want to go to school, doesn't want to do anything. And his father sees his son spiraling out of control and knows that he needs to stop this now. His father then devises a plan, and he then walks up to Izuku one day. He picks him up and he takes him out early in the morning. It was around 5 in the morning, right around when the sun was coming out. His father then takes him to one of the open stretches of land that they have, and he then says, "My boy, Izuku." Izuku then slowly wakes up and he says, "Yes, Dad, what's going on?" He says, "My boy, is it true that you want to be a hero?" And Izuku then says, "Yes, more than anything." And then Izuku then says, I would really want to be a hero with all of my life. I would do anything to become one." And Izuku's father then said, "Good." Izuku then says, Izuku's father then says, how far would you go to this? Would you sacrifice time, years of your life perhaps? His father then asked. Izuku then says, of course, Dad. I would do anything to become a hero. It doesn't matter what. As long as I end up being a hero and save people, it doesn't matter. And Izuku's father then thinks to himself, so he really is pure-hearted. I guess this means that I'm okay giving this to him, and it's not bad. Izuku's dad then tells him that for the next 11 years, you are tasked with becoming the mental and physical personification of perfection. His son then says, wait, what? And Izuku then says, how do I do that? He says, you will train to become in the best shape of your life, and you will maintain it. You will become on par with gold medalist athletes in their specific fields. You will become mental perfection, being able to solve problems extraordinarily fast, and being a jack of all trades, knowing everything about everything. You will become a master in the criminal and psychology of criminals and villains, to learn how best to effectively capture them and control them. You will learn all of this in the next 11 years. If you can do this, my son, I promise you, at the end of the tunnel there will be a light, and this light will be for you. It will make you on par, if not better, than every other person that they would consider to be your peer. You will still be quirkless, but you will be the most powerful person in UA. You also have to get into UA with your own skills alone. So yeah. But I will give you this gift by the time it's time to get in UA. That is your time limit, 11 years. Go, my son. The clock starts now. His father immediately leaves, right? Like, he waits a day, and then his mother, basically, Izuku's mother gets home, and Izuku's mother is informed of what's going on. And she's not bad at it, because this got Izuku motivated, and he wasn't depressed all the time anymore. So she was just happy that this was the case. And it wasn't like getting in shape was a bad thing, and it wasn't like being intelligent was a bad thing. So there was really no downside to him doing this. Izuku's father then left. Izuku's father then started to go all over the country. He needed to assort the best things ever. His father's quirk was called Forge Master. Essentially, he could create any type of weapon, and this weapon would be able to essentially hold endless amounts of power, because it didn't abide by normal rules, right? It could hold endless amounts of power. After he created the blade you see right there, he then went around the country and he started assembling people. He assembled a person with a quirk called Loyalty. This quirk essentially allows him to give a print onto the sword, and no matter what, the sword will teleport back to his hands if he calls for it, right? And his father also finds two twins who have quirks that are namely called Deadly Intention and Malicious Intent. Malicious Intent allows Izuku to make this sword stronger and stronger and stronger based on how badly he wants to hurt someone with it. And also the other one, it basically allows Izuku to charge the blade up with actual energy that he can release in a slash based on how badly he wants to pull the blade out of the sheath. That's how you activate that one. But have you ever wanted to do something so bad that for a split second you thought you actually did it? It's basically like that. And when he releases it, it comes out in a wave. It also has agility up, speed up, which just makes him more agile than a normal human and makes him faster than a normal human. That's also an enchantment that was put on a blade. I guess you could say that a quirk that was put on the blade to affect this user. He also has minor regeneration along with having the sword in his hand, basically, which gives him the ability to recover from broken bones and stuff like that in just a couple of days. It's also soulbound, which is a quirk that basically binds it to his soul, which means he can only give the sword away willingly. It doesn't. If someone basically has a hostage and says, "Give up your sword," or "I'll kill her," Izuku can't give up the sword. He has to give it up willingly, not even forcefully, right? It's also another quirk that's placed on it, whoever may be worthy, which basically means that if you're not strong enough, and if you're not basically where Izuku is mentally and physically, you won't be able to pick up the sword. It will immediately shock you with a large amount of electricity, which will paralyze you, drop you to the floor, and Izuku will be notified that someone tried to pick up his sword, which means it'll probably be gone in the next few seconds because they'll call it to teleport back to his hand. So yeah, that's pretty powerful. Also, there'll be ability of hardening to unbreakable status. That's another quirk that's put on there, or just unbreakable for short. This blade is almost indestructible and cannot be broken by any normal method and means. It is not affected by any of the temperature extremes or just force applied on it. It doesn't bend under any circumstances. It also has the ability to be able to steal or to copy and steal them for however long he wants. The sword can basically do this. It can steal one quirk from a person, and it'll basically erase this quirk if need be. Like it'll take this quirk from the person while the person is still connected to the quirk, and it'll erase the quirk, basically making that person quirkless while Izuku takes like the quirk away. He can take the quirk away, right? He doesn't basically just like erase it, like as long as he's within their presence, like Eraserhead. He takes it and permanently deletes it, right? So yeah, but he can also restore it, like, you know, stuff like that. This sword is also imbued with the ability to basically give Izuku also accuracy up and vision up. It basically means that time is slowed down for his perception while he's holding the sword, so he can block things like bullets, cut them in half and stuff like that, and even duck out of the way of projectiles that are coming his way, because his perception is slowed down and his reaction speed is all the way up. So Izuku's the way of seeing the world is in fast motion, right? There was also the quirk put on this called long distance, which means even if Izuku isn't touching the blade, as long as he's soul bound to it and he is the one who's worthy of it, all of these effects will still apply to him even if he doesn't have the sword in hand. Then there's also there's a quirk on the sword called the one that sheaths, which basically means that if Izuku has the sword in its sheath, the sword becomes untouchable by anybody, right? Like you can't even touch it unless you're Izuku. Only Izuku can pull it out of the sheath. It can't be pulled out by anybody else. But once it is out, someone can attempt to touch it. But if they're not worthy of it, it will shock them. You know, it will give them electric shock and paralyze them. Also, this sword, along with making his reflexes faster and slowing down his perception, gives him the ability of Izuku can basically use his vision up, which allows him to see from a farther distance and can also see things coming towards him in a slowed down perspective. You might be wondering how that's different from just his perception being slowed. His perception can be slowed, but it's only within his visual range, because he can't see something from miles away coming towards him in slow perception. He'll only be able to see it once it gets close to his face. But by that time, if it's something too fast, he'll just get hit by it. So yeah, that's what basically that does. But it also allows Izuku to be able to do stuff like see the weakness in a person, right? Like he can see the weak spot of anything that he looks at, and he can optimize on it. And if he hits it, it will do like critical damage. There's another quirk on it called critical, and it basically means that wherever Izuku hits a person with the sword while he's using the appraisal quirk on somebody, it basically allows him to like hit this person in their weakest spot, which will typically take them out in one shot or just weaken them up very significantly, right? Izuku also has the ability known as pacifist, which basically means that this sword can attack people with full force, and it will basically cut them. It will basically cut them, but it will make them regenerate. Like after they're cut, they will be knocked out after they're taking a certain amount of damage, but they will be healed, right? Like, so it does physical damage to the person, but it numbs their pain receptors while they're getting cut, and it also regenerates them after the cutting is finished. So yeah, Izuku doesn't kill people with this sword, right? Izuku also has the ability to jump extraordinarily high due to his physical capability, and also the ability of having a specifically jumping-oriented quirk it's called Leaper, which gives him the ability to jump 20 feet in the air if he wanted to, right? So yeah, with all of these quirks that's imbued onto the sword, Izuku's going to be a force to be reckoned with. But Izuku still has to play the part, which is where we skip to. We skip to Izuku. Izuku is in the middle of the process of training right now. He's around 7 years old. He begins his physical training by working out normally and doing the best and most effective diets. After this, he begins to study more and more and more on, like, how to disable people using non-lethal methods. He starts studying martial arts, and he starts doing all of this years at a time. He takes 1 full year to get his body in physical shape for an 8-year-old. Then he takes another year, and he basically studies multiple martial arts, such as boxing, karate, judo, like all of them. Basically, a large assortment of them. He knows almost every single martial art that's basically very, very, very heavily used in the public eye. He knows most of them, and he also knows Kung Fu, which he just decided on because he wanted to. He knows most of the pressure points in the human body and can also identify and stop bleeding by making his body forcefully have a blood clot, which is an ability that he learned due to rigorous training. Izuku then continues by, studying more and more and more, learning more and more martial arts. And after he gets to a certain point at 10 years old, he begins to start training under actual Olympic gold medalists. He hires them and basically gets them to train him in those specific sections. Like, he gets the gold Olympic medalist runner in sprinting, which will probably be Usain Bolt. And he gets Usain Bolt to train him in running, to how to get faster and keeping his lean muscle mass. He gets the Olympic gold medal weightlifter, if that's a thing, or just the strongest man in the world, to teach him how to be strong man without getting bigger. Well, he does. Izuku will get slightly bigger, but he doesn't do the weightlifting until he turns 14. So yeah. But yeah, and he gets trained in swimming. He gets trained in jumping, which he doesn't really need, but he trains in it anyway because he doesn't know that he's not gonna need it. Anyway, after Izuku has done all this, we skip to Izuku turning 14. After this, Izuku is about to finish criminal psychology in every single form. He's basically studied almost everything needed in order to become what his father wanted him to be, and also to become a hero, right? Izuku is vastly knowledgeable in engineering, electrical, wiring, and stuff like that. Izuku knows how to hack into places. He knows how to plan in advance. He knows how to predict the movements of a person just by the way their body language is. He knows how to extract information from people just by looking at them and seeing the physical signs. He's basically Batman on crack, right? So yeah. Anyway, Izuku turns 15, and the day he wakes up to go to UA, his father while walking down the stairs sees his dad. His dad is holding this thing in a box. Izuku is then thrown the box. The box goes towards him, and Izuku is told by his father to basically grab the sword by its hilt, very, very, very top of the hilt, right? And Izuku then says, "Oh, it's a sword. Okay, Dad, thanks." And Izuku thinks to himself, "What am I gonna do with a sword?" And he basically opens the box and takes off the wrapping and stuff, and he basically touches the sword closest to the hilt, and Izuku starts feeling a burning sensation. And his dad then says, "Don't let go, Izuku. You have to hold on." Izuku then continues to hold on, and the burning keeps going while he doesn't even scream, but he starts shaking a bit. This was excruciating, but Izuku's pain tolerance is so high that he doesn't really respond to most pain by screaming. As Izuku's dad sees this and says, "He truly has done it. I've been away for 15 years, so I've been away for 11 years, so I don't know, but I'm glad he's finally done it." And Izuku is then told he can let go, and Izuku does let go. Izuku is then told by his father to find out all of the abilities that this thing has in a day, on the way for him to go into school. Izuku does this because, he has great, amazing deductive skills and is a detective, basically. He got all of this stuff anyway. He often helps out the normal police with detective work because he's so smart and intelligent. He's basically Batman. But Izuku goes to school one day with this sword on his hilt, and everyone basically sees him while he's dressed in a suit. And Izuku is then told by the test practitioners that he can't bring a weapon to the school. Izuku then says, this isn't a weapon, this is my quirk. And everyone then basically says, okay, it must be like one of those manifestation kind of quirks. So, okay. Izuku lied perfectly because they didn't suspect a thing, and he covered his tracks. So yeah, it wasn't really a lie, because that technically is his quirk, but he doesn't have a quirk, he just has an ability, which is better than a quirk, because a quirk or a power is basically something that cannot be changed once you have it. An ability is something that can be tweaked to become better. So yeah. But this is the ultimate weapon. It can't be replicated nowhere else. His father literally doesn't have the ability to make something of that power ever again. His quirk works in a certain manner, and it basically means that it takes it basically takes years in order for him to be able to recharge this ability. That's why he retired as a hero. He could often make very simple and strong objects, like reasonably strong objects, and it would only take him a second to be able to do it again. But with such a strong object, it takes him an extraordinarily long amount of time. Izuku then basically says, okay, I'm ready. And he begins to walk past the people at the front gate, and everyone notices Izuku. Izuku opens the door and walks through. Izuku begins to make his way to one of the classes, and he begins to take his test. He finishes the test within the first 30 seconds. No exaggeration. Izuku is immediately on that test like white on rice. He opens it up. He circles. He starts using the pamphlet and everything. He starts reading faster than anybody else. He finishes the paragraph, and he immediately starts circling answers as quickly as possible. He finishes within the first 30 seconds. And also, he has a speed up and a perception up, which means that while he doesn't have the sword in his hand, which means that he's seeing the pages, he's flipping the pages, but he's seeing them in slow motion, right? He's seeing them in slow motion, and he also has a photographic memory, so he can just photograph the questions in his mind, read the paragraph, and then immediately go back to it and answer the questions. Now that he has the paragraph in his mind, along with the questions, he can just go back to the questions and read the paragraph from memory and just answer the questions. Izuku then says, I'm finished, Mr. Practitioner, sir. Izuku is then told by the practitioner to sit and wait and look over the test. Izuku then says, okay. And then we get to the practical exam. When the practical exam is said begin, Izuku dashes forward, getting ahead of everybody instantly, already at least 40 feet from the starting line. At the very second he said begin, Izuku goes on. He pulls out his sword. He downward slash on one robot, chopping it clean in half. He picks it up with his sword and by the tip of his sword, throws it towards another one, and breaks the other robot with that robot. Izuku at this current point can probably lift about 1,000 pounds with his strength up ability with the sword, and around 300 just in his normal state. So he's pretty strong even without it. They only give him 700 pounds of weight that he can be able to lift, right? So he's throwing these robots around that weigh like 500 pounds with ease, right? Like with ease. And he basically keeps on running with his sword outstretched in a Kenjutsu type motion, and he begins to charge the sword up. He slashes one down. He starts slashing another without stopping, and runs past the street, just slashing them apart, turning them into confetti. Izuku throws his sword into one of the robots, and it teleports back in his hand, and he jumps up with his leaping quirk and slashes down again, sending a ginormous wave, destroying all of the robots left. Izuku then puts his sword back in his sheath like a samurai, and then bows and says, I'm finished. He begins to walk back to the starting line when everyone is absolutely shocked and terrified. Bakugo being in this testing ground is absolutely shocked, because Izuku has all of these powers and abilities. He's completely stunned and doesn't even know how to respond to this. The guy that he thought was so quirkless and weak has come back to become stronger than him. But with that, I think I'm going to end this episode. If you guys enjoyed it, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And with that, peace.